right, I thought I should make a video on how to use the Zonesun ZSTB500 label maker to make your life easier if you are trying to set up such a machine. So it's got this nifty little touch screen with a bunch of different options and things, and some of them might not be intuitively obvious to an English speaker. For example, bid off. This is what the option to apply labels or not apply labels. So if you turn that on, which is now grayed out, it will now dispense labels when you turn it on and hit run, which will have it run. Okay. If we stop this, now if you press the standard test, this will actually have it issue exactly one label. It will just print it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the button, and then you will watch it issue one label. Okay. Now when you go to assemble this thing, there's going to be a few things you want to keep note of. So if you get it all together, well, it's going to come apart, and this assembly is going to be disconnected. And this is how you assemble it, and it's fairly straightforward. What you should note is this little doohickey right here and this little adjuster screw. Because when you first get it all assembled and string this thing in, and you also are going to have to tighten this, this switch right here. If yours is like mine, this will spin once you hit the bid off, turn it on. This will spin and nothing else will move, and you'll be very confused. Well, what happens is this is the tensioner, and this keeps tension on the label. And so what you need to do is make sure that this is appropriately adjusted so that everything remains tight, but also that this doesn't just spin. You don't want it too tight. There's a certain limit. Okay, next, I had an issue when I first set this thing up where it was dispensing two labels at once. Now, there's two things that you're going to have to keep in mind. First, this doohickey right here is the laser sensor that identifies when a bottle is here and ready for capping. You want this dead center, right over where the bottle's cap is going to be when this thing's spinning. That's got to be exactly perfect. Also, there's this sensor back here. This sensor identifies the start of the next label, and you might need to reset this when you get your machine. And to reset this label, what you have to do is push, I'm going to put the phone down, the positive and negative, and it's going to blink like that. And when it's blinking, you're going to want to move the label back and forth in front of the sensor a few times before getting it here, and then push the negative button one more time. And now you can see when it can properly find the sensor. All right. Also, you're going to want to adjust it so that only a little bit of your label sticks out. What am I showing here? So right here, only a little bit of, there's a thin sliver of the label sticking out right there. You want to have that be right there. And how you adjust that is the sensor here, underneath it, there's two screws. These two screws, you unscrew them and this slides along a track, it moves back and forth, and you move it to the point where it needs to be to have only a little bit of label showing up at the front. And if you do that, you should be good, and it should be able to work for you fantastically. I mean, of course, for your label and your setup, you're going to need to adjust these different options here a little bit and find what works for you. This works for me, but some trial and error, and you will have to do some minor adjustments on the machine to get the wheels lined up, to raise and lower this using this wheel here to get the label exactly on the bottle where you want it to be. But yeah, that's about it. It's really cool and it works really well, so good luck.